Pope Francis is facing bombshell allegations that have put the papacy directly in the crosshairs of a potential scandal. But the Pope isn't new to being at the center of controversies. I'm Judah with Now This World, and in today's episode, we're going to explore some of the controversies of Pope Francis's past and the recent allegations that might very well end his historic rule. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1936, Pope Francis was the son of Italian immigrants who fled the fascist dictatorship of Benito Mussolini. Bergoglio dedicated his life to the Roman Catholic Church in 1958 when he joined the novitiate of the Society of Jesus. He became an ordained priest in 1969 and eventually assumed the leadership role of the provincial of the Jesuits in Argentina in 1973. But during his time in that role, he would find himself in the midst of a wartime controversy. From 1976 to 1983, Argentina suffered through what many called the Dirty War. It was a period of time when a brutal military junta ruled the country. The dictatorship cracked down on suspected dissidents and others, including opposition figures and innocent civilians. They were taken by the government, where some were tortured in secret prisons and eventually killed. This campaign claimed the lives of at least 9,000 people. But what does this have to do with the Pope? Two Jesuit clerics who were working among the poor in Buenos Aires' slums were kidnapped by the military government, and some have said Pope Francis is partially to blame for their targeting. Some accused him of being complicit with the government when he didn't publicly endorse the two priests' work, but the Vatican and the Pope himself have strongly denied this claim. Years later, he acknowledged that he made mistakes during his time in leadership in Argentina, and said it was because he was, quote, put into the job too early. But despite this troubling incident, he largely is seen as a spiritual leader of the people. Some have characterized him as a humble man, someone who once took public buses and cooked his own meals during his time as a leader. That humble, mild-mannered temperament and his goal of refocusing the church's efforts to helping the poor is what set him apart, leading him to his next role in the church. On March 13, 2013, a billow of white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel. That was the moment when Jorge Mario Bergoglio became known as Pope Francis. He became the 266th leader of the Roman Catholic Church. His leadership would bring in a new wave of firsts for the Vatican. He was the first pope from Latin America, the first Jesuit, and the first non-European in over 1,000 years. He said he wanted to shift the church's priority to helping the poor and the marginalized. He was seen as a reformer, someone who wanted to push the Catholic Church forward. He made relatively supportive comments about the LGBTQ community in 2013, saying, quote, "If someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge?" He's argued of the growing dangers of climate change, argued the death penalty is inadmissible, and gave priests the right to forgive abortions, a medical procedure that would have automatically resulted in the excommunication from the church. But these signs of change didn't sit well with some conservatives in the church. One of the most notable challenges to his authority and reforms came from the Vatican ambassador to the United States, Cardinal Carlo Maria Vigano. Vigano, a staunch anti-gay member of the church, arranged a meeting between Cam Davis, a controversial Kentucky official who refused to marry gay couples, and the Pope without his knowledge. A few months later, Pope Francis accepted Vigano's resignation. But that wouldn't be the last time the Pope's rule would be challenged by Vigano. Now, the Pope faces bombshell allegations that have brought the papacy directly into question over how much the Pope knew of alleged sexual abuse by U.S. Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who recently resigned under pressure. And the accuser is none other than former Vatican ambassador to the United States, Cardinal Carlo Maria Vigano. He released an 11-page letter in conservative Catholic media where he claims the Pope knew about sexual abuse in the church and didn't do anything about it. He also claimed the Pope has been allowing what he calls homosexual networks to run rampant in the Vatican, something he says is the cause of the Catholic Church's abuse problem. But Vigano has released no evidence to corroborate any of his claims against Pope Francis. When asked to respond to the allegations, the Pope was eerily silent on the matter and refused to comment. Some say this allegation is nothing more than a man trying to get even 3 years after his firing. So will Vigano provide evidence of this bombshell claim? And if he does, will the Pope resign? Some say these recent allegations are just the result of an ideological civil war between traditionalists and reformers in the Catholic Church. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching Now This World.